The eAssist Dental Solutions podcast. We are the nation's leader in outsourced dental billing. Our clients require highly skilled dental office managers that can consult with client offices.
So welcome to the eAssist Dental Solutions podcast. I am your host, Andres Quintana, coming to you from the studio in the Raleigh area of North Carolina. Well, today I'm so excited because we have Dr. Driskill on the line. Doctor, how are you today?
Hey, doing fine, Andres. Thanks for having me today.
You know, Doc, I just wanted to kind of share your story with the eAssist Nation out there. And you're the owner of a really great dental practice here in Zebulon, North Carolina, the beautiful town of Zebulon. I have been through that downtown many times when I'm actually trying to get to the beach because I live in Youngsville. So if you can picture where we are, I take 96 all the way through the little downtown of Zebulon. It's quite beautiful town there. Can you tell us a little bit about your location?
Yeah, it's a quaint little small town. It's kind of right on the fringe of the Raleigh-Durham, I guess, RTP triangle area, if you would call it. Kind of nestled right in the corner of Wake County. And so we have access to everything in Wake County. And then we have Franklin County, Johnston County, and then Wilson County is not too far away as well.
So do people go from Lewisburg maybe? Is that close to you?
Yeah, Lewisburg, it's a good little 30, 35 minute drive from where we are. But it is in Franklin County, and yeah, we do have patients that drive all the way from that area.
Wow, that's great. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Driskill. Thank you for being on the show today, taking time away from your busy work day. There's really two main reasons why we're interviewing you today. So number one, congratulations, because you are receiving a Top Doctor Award with eAssist, and that's one of the reasons. The second reason is we would love to just put the spotlight on you and just brag about you, your practice, your team, all of the wonderful things that you do for this community and this area of the triangle, which is so popular around the country for business. So we'll just dive in, and maybe the first question is, how long have you been in practice?
Well, I went to University of Maryland Dental School, graduated in 2012. So I've been practicing now going on 6 years. I did a GPR, general practice residency at a hospital in southern Pennsylvania, and then started private practice as an associate in Raleigh in 2013. Did some temp, mostly locum tenens work for a while. Kind of settled into a nice practice in Cary. I was there for 2 years, and then I decided to branch out on my own, found an opportunity to acquire an existing practice that was doing well in Zebulon, and acquired that, did that deal beginning of 2016. So I've been in Zebulon now for 2 years.
Wow. So now let's really go way back and into your youth a little bit and find out, how did you decide to become a dentist and why?
Sure, yeah. Well, every dentist gets asked that question in dental school interviews and all throughout. Anytime anybody finds out you want to be a dentist or you are a dentist, they say, well, how did you come about that? It's not really something that most kids really think about. But for me, I pretty much locked on to wanting to become a dentist when I was in 8th grade. I think it had to do with the combination of my parents. My dad was a mechanic, an industrial mechanic, and we were always tinkering with things around the house. And my mom was a nurse, so that had that healthcare aspect to it. So I guess I just kind of combined the two of them, mechanical things and healthcare. And then I had braces and came out of braces when I was in the 8th grade, and had a really positive experience with all of that. And I said, hey, this might be something worth looking into. So that's when, and that's how I decided that's what I wanted to do.
That's great. And, way back when you decided to say, oh, wow, I might want to be a dentist. Yeah, you didn't know that when you actually started a practice, you were going to have to deal with, accounts receivable problems and, needing a specific type of help within the practice. Maybe the challenges of having someone really important in the team take time off, or having issues with with the patient ledgers and account issues, insurance claims, and all of that. So now that you are practicing dentistry, how do you deal with some of these issues?
Yeah, you're right. I didn't even know those things existed when I was coming up. I thought that being a dentist was pretty much just like my family dentist growing up. You just go in and you just kind of look around and say, oh yeah, everything looks good, or we're gonna get your wisdom teeth out next summer or something like that. I had no idea what in the world went on behind the scenes, and honestly, I didn't really even get the full grasp of it until I became a practice owner. They just don't teach this stuff in school at all. Even when I was an associate, these things were just far removed from my day-to-day thought processes. I was more focused on the clinical side of things and building relationships with patients, and the bookkeeping and the accounts and the front office stuff, if you will. All that just kind of happened, and I just thought, when I get my own practice, oh yeah, that stuff's just going to happen. I don't have to worry about all that stuff. But that was, oh man, school of hard knocks. Really, I had to learn the hard way that is not how it works.
Well, Doctor, I'm so glad you brought that up, because two things. We may have an associate of a practice, listening to our show right now, wanting to hear more about this. But the first thing before we get to that is you have such a calming voice. I haven't met you yet. We were actually supposed to meet you today in your practice, but we are getting a blizzard here in North Carolina in the middle of March, right? Oh goodness, it's beautiful to see, though, right? When we think spring is in the air, but you have such a calming voice. If I was going to you for the first time, I would already feel comfortable. How do you make that happen for your patients to have that trust in you that it seems that you have, going into the operatory?
Yeah, well, thanks a lot for saying that. It's actually one of the things that I always try to do is create a comfortable and safe environment for patients when a patient walks into the dental office, especially some of the patients that we see who have feared going to the dentist for years and years. I saw a patient today. She admitted she hasn't been to see a dentist in 20 years, other than just to have teeth pulled. Mm-hmm. And she wants to do something for herself finally. But that's definitely something I want to always try to do, is to create that calming atmosphere. And so it really starts with, they say that the first visit to a dental practice or any business in general is that first phone call. Right. So having someone that answers the phone in a polite and calm way, even though things can, from what I understand, get pretty hectic in the front desk area where the phones are answered on a regular basis, making sure that people do kind of smile when they before they answer the phone, and speak clearly and be empathetic to what people have to say. Mm-hmm. And that's something I always try to do in the operatory as well. I just let people tell me their story. I just listen. Most of the time I can relate. Times can get hard for some folks, and so I said, look, I totally understand. Let's see what we can do to help you.
That's great. You're going exactly in the path that I wanted to go with, and thank you for that, because we were talking about an associate of someone working in a practice that's not an owner listening to the show, and they might have a goal of having their practice someday, and they have a way that they want to practice, but when you start and when you are actually in there, then things start happening. Life happens, right? And no longer the same plan that you had is exactly what you do, because people need you in all kinds of different ways. There may be a patient that, like you said, hasn't been to the dentist in 10 to 20 years, and they're dreading the situation. And you may have a certain way you want to practice, but that person has a need, and it may be beyond dentistry. How do you deal with that day in and day out?
Oh yeah, I see that every day. Yeah, there's a dentist that I actually used to work for. He's in the Raleigh area. Kind of looked to him as a mentor, and he put it best. He always said, "Tell the patient what they need, but give them what they want."
Right.
And I try to think about that every time I walk into the operatory to meet a patient, whether it's the first time or the 15th time. Just tell them what they need, be honest with them, say, look, this is what's going on. Use an intraoral camera, take a photo, a picture speaks 1,000 words, and just say, hey, look, this is an issue. I'm concerned about it for you. What would you like to do? And give them options, And so, and you never know. It's even with like the people that come in and you're thinking, oh man, these people have, Medicaid or something like that, and they're not going to be able to afford, a treatment that you or I would most likely go for. Still, I present it every time. I always say, hey, look, this tooth is in bad shape. I can save it for you. It would need a root canal, and then we would put it back together with a crown for you, and hopefully it'll last you a long, long time. But it's going to cost this much money. You do have another option. Other option is to just pull the tooth. We can worry about replacing it later. What would you like to do today?
That's great. That brings something to my mind that I always say, I'm always there, ready for when the patient wants to say yes. Do you believe in that mentality?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, just tell them what they need, give them what they want. If they decide later on that what they need is what they want, then they'll come to you.
That's sure a reason why you're chosen as one of these top doctors, and I'm so happy to be talking to you tonight. And now you wouldn't be you without your team. Let's brag a little bit about your team, because here at eAssist, we take a lot of pride in our team. We have teams of people all around the country that when one of us doesn't have the answer to what, do better for the office, there's tons of resources out there for us. What about you? What can you say about that team that makes it happen for you every single day?
I have to brag on my team. My team has taken our office far and beyond where I thought that we could be. When I first came on to the practice was doing well, but the team that was there was just kind of like not well organized, not a very well-oiled machine. They had good people, but they weren't clicking together, if you kind of know what I mean. Mm-hmm. And the sad truth is, we had to go through a number of people working in the office before we really had the team that we have today. And it was hard. And that's definitely something that they don't teach you how to deal with in school, is how to deal with different personalities, and how different personalities are going to interact with other personalities, and how they deal with conflict or stressful situations. Because it's not all rainbows and sunshine all the time. There's stressful times in the office, but the team that we have right now, they are really working well together. They've got it really well figured out. One of the things that I think has helped us the most to really have a cohesive team is our weekly meetings. Mm-hmm. We sit down for an hour and a half every Tuesday morning. It's myself, my associate, Dr. K, who you know has worked in your office before.
Yes.
And then the rest of the team, everybody's there. And we talk about our goals. We have set goals, financial goals, and also just like personal goals for what each team member can contribute to the practice. And we go around and we say, hey, Susie, how did you do with organizing the supply room last week? Did you get that done? Yeah, you did? Okay, awesome. Maybe this week you can, would you like to maybe focus on labeling things in the supply room, take it to the next level there, stuff like that. And so, when we first started doing it, it was the later part of last year, so much pushback. And like, do we really have to meet like every single way? How about maybe once a month? I'm like, we're going to do it every week. And we're gonna meet like this, and we're gonna talk about things until our practice is perfect. And now, if a meeting gets postponed or canceled, like tomorrow, we're probably going to be closed because of the weather. I think they're going to be disappointed because we won't get together and talk. So it's really nice, and it just took consistency, And now we've got people that have been there since day one, and we just brought on someone new. She's only been there a week, so we'll get together. If not this week, then early part of next week, and we'll do it every week.
Oh, this is true because this is Monday afternoon. We're recording this episode, and tomorrow is Tuesday morning. It makes me want to go to your meeting if you had been open tomorrow, Doc. So that's
we have a good meeting. Yeah, I'm really glad. I got the concept from a book. Just kind of a shout out to the folks that wrote this book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution.
Okay.
Actually, I think Dr. Anderson might have mentioned it when he was on your podcast, but it's by the Stephen Covey, Sean Covey group. Right. Oh man, that book really, it just kind of helped me to put my leadership kind of into, I guess, into gear, really, if you will. Mm-hmm. It's like before it was just kind of like everywhere, but now I feel like it's pretty straightforward now. I feel like the way that I'm leading the team, not only by example, but by, pushing them every day, every week. It really all came from that book.
That's great. A shout out to Dr. Anderson, of course, once again, making the list of 500 growing private companies in America for the second straight year. So really proud of that for the company. Doc, we were talking about, the patient care, how your team gels together, and all of that creates something that I like to mention often, which is the Disney effect. And a lot of times we have that phrase that gets thrown around often, which is the customer is always right, the patient is always right. Mm-hmm. A lot of times the patient really may not be right. But our goal, and it sounds like you go by this, is you want them to be right. You want to give them a chance to speak their mind, and you want them to be heard. I think that's what I heard from you in the way you treat your patients.
Yeah, the thing that you're exactly right. Patients a lot of times they're not right because they're not well informed. They're not dentists. They didn't get to school.
Exactly.
They don't know. They got some stuff off the internet or, heard something or another from a family member. But customer is always right. I like to think of it more like I want to treat people the way I want to be treated. I just want to follow the golden rule. And so, like, if I'm in this patient's shoes, like, how do I want to feel? Like, do I want to feel like I have control of the situation? Do I want to feel like I have, the voice to be able to say, hey, doc, slow down, I don't understand? or, can you explain it again? Or no, doc, you're not quite getting it. Like, that's not exactly what I'm saying here. Let me say it another way. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I try to definitely treat my patients like that, like I would want to be treated. And if I'm not being clear, I give them the chance to say so. And if they want me to say it another way, sure. Or if they want somebody else to explain it to them, then we can work that out too. But yeah, I want them to be heard.
That's great. Well, it sounds like you have an amazing practice over there. And I've heard so many things positive from Dr. K. You are so really lucky to have such an amazing an associate there like her. So this is great. Now, what has led you to partner up with eAssist, and how long have you been with eAssist?
So we have been with eAssist now for a little over a year, I believe. I want to say it was the later part of 2016 that we were finally able to get on.
Yeah.
And the only reason that we weren't on day one when I acquired the practice is because of our internet speed. Mm-hmm. Zebulon's a small town, and apparently they just didn't have the infrastructure to have high-speed internet at the office. So we had to pull some strings, and I had to get a consultant to come in to help us get fiber optic internet mm-hmm. run to the building. And so it was pretty much as soon as I got hooked up, I was like, come on, please help us out. But the way I heard about eAssist was when I was still an associate working at that practice in Cary. It was towards the end, I was feeling a little restless. I was ready to move on to my next big thing. There was an office manager there who was feeling kind of the same. And so we were talking, and I said, hey, I heard about this company where you can work from home doing dental billing stuff. You already know how to do that. Mm-hmm. It's called eAssist. She said, I'm going to check it out. Well, you have to take a test to qualify for them to even offer you a job.
Right.
She couldn't pass the test.
Oh gosh.
She was an office manager of a very successful practice in a really nice area of the country, and she didn't have what it took to be on the eAssist team. So I thought to myself, I was like, wow, if they're that serious about finding top-notch people, I definitely want to work with them. Yeah. So I had it on my mind the whole time I was even struggling. When our accounts receivable were just through the roof, later part of 2016, I was like, oh man, I just can't wait for them to come on because they're going to help us out so much. And they did.
That's amazing, because something similar happened to me where my consulting business, was booming. I do a little bit in the eye care world. And of course, I work with my wife, Dr. Jane, and then really getting busy. And I just couldn't put the right things in place as far as getting all the claims to be on time, and my best person to do claims was being moved into a room and tackling these things, and so my collections at the front desk with the everyday cases just wasn't stable. And the first phone call that I made, I got a company that, of course, I won't mention names, but they just didn't seem like they had it all put together, mm-hmm. and then the second phone call I made, I talked to this wonderful lady, Michelle, and I came home and I told my wife, I have found a solution. It's eAssist Dental Solutions. And so that's kind of, that's similar. And it's amazing. The training that they go through, it is truly difficult, and I'm so glad for it. So now, what has made a difference having eAssist in your practice?
I think the thing that eAssist has brought into our practice is accountability. Whereas before, we had a person that was doing the office manager, filling that role. I can't really call her an office manager, though, because she wasn't doing her job. Mm-hmm. And I had no idea. I really didn't know. All I knew was that accounts receivable where it was just getting into the hundreds of thousands.
Yes.
I questioned her about it. She said she's doing the best that she can. But the only person that she was accountable to was with me, really. And I didn't really know anything at the time. So when eAssist came on, they have a checklist for the office manager at the end of every day. They have to go through this checklist, and they have to print off or save in some way all these different things that the eAssist people need in order to post the payments or send the claims or whatever it is that the office has eAssist do. And so with that checklist and that daily accountability record, the person that was supposed to be the office manager was actually doing something to bring the money that was owed to us in. She did her part, and then the people at eAssist on the back end, they came back in and cleaned everything up.
That's amazing. As eAssist, now we're going to bring this back to you actually and brag a little bit more about you. Has eAssist made a difference now in the way that you lead your staff, your office, how you approach your patients? How can you kind of differentiate that?
I have to say that I think eAssist has helped with the way that I lead, because before, I guess I was kind of a boss hole, if you ever heard that term, but I wasn't really all that nice, because I felt like I had to micromanage everyone.
Right.
And I didn't like that. And you could just feel the tension in the air when I was on my little micromanaging rampage. Has this been done? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? And of course they're like, yes, what I've always done, yes. But with eAssist there, they got the checklist that they provide for us. As long as my people in the office are following the checklist, doing what they're supposed to do, eAssist has what they need to do their job, everybody's cool.
Yeah.
And periodically, and eAssist is so good. Kathleen, definitely got to give a shout out to her. She's so great. She always copies me on all the email correspondence that she has with my front office people.
Amazing.
And so I get all the questions that if there's something not quite right with a claim or somebody's social security number or something like that isn't entered properly, I get the email saying, hey, you need to fix this. I was seeing them coming through on a fairly regular basis, and so I emailed Kathleen myself and I said, hey, look, I'm seeing a lot of errors on our end. Is there a way that we can track this to see if we can make some improvement, reduce the number of errors? No problem. She went in and created a Google spreadsheet, through Google Docs, that she shares with me every week. And in that spreadsheet, she's got a list of all the requests and, when it was sent, when the request was sent, if it had been received. If it had not been received, then, where they were within the process, whether or not it had been, if it's pending, or if it's, requested something special from the patient, or if it's been complete. Every week I get a link to go and check out that list. And let me tell you, it has gotten smaller.
That's
the request from the eAssist side of the workflow has, the request for extra information has gotten smaller and smaller as the months have passed. And so, yeah, my team's doing a really good job. The eAssist team's doing a great job too. Everybody's working well together.
That's great. And in my experience, doctors want to come out of the room and sometimes they want to go to the front desk and have that go-to person that's the most knowledgeable person. And a lot of times when the office is not flowing well, this person may be busy with work that doesn't belong in on the schedule of the doctor wanting to get certain things, right? But with eAssist, makes everything run so smoothly that it doesn't seem like when you come from the back and you need that person to bounce something off of, or talk about one of the medical issues or discuss a patient treatment, that they're always available for you. It just seems like everything just flows better.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. If they're always available, then that's it. And, every office, I think, still has to have a go-to person
Yes.
for, general questions. Like the kind of person that, calls the shots, if you will. And in my practice, that's the office manager. But she's got assistants. And for her to have assistants and, a system that is very predictable and that she doesn't really even have to think about, I think that frees up a lot of her time and, to handle those hey, got a minute kind of things,
Yeah. This is great. Doc, we're almost at the end here. I know that I want to get you back with your family and everything.
Sure.
For other doctors listening out there that someday, may be receiving this award or come on board with eAssist, what is your best tip to someone that is struggling to take the practice to that next level?
Howard Friend's got a book he came out with a couple years ago, Uncomplicate Business. All it takes is people, time, and money. I think that is what everybody needs to just keep in the back of their mind when they're thinking about, improving, really anything in their lives. You got to have good people. They've got to be motivated. They've got to. Nobody's going to care nearly as much about your practice as you are, the owner, the doctor. But you got to somehow get people involved close to the same level as you are. Money, don't be afraid to spend money. One of the things that we did this year is we invested in remodeling our practice, the office, to make it look better. We even put a lot of offices don't do this, but we put some advertising in our storefront. We have storefront, big glass windows. And so that has really helped a lot. And that's like a one-time, instead of like a recurring, monthly advertising fee, that's just like a one-time thing. And it makes the front of the building look really good too. Don't be afraid to, pay your people well.
Right.
I definitely want my people making top dollar if they can. And if the practice can support it. And so, whenever a practice or whenever we are doing really well in a month, and we close out the month really well, I definitely want them to be a part of a bonus pool. So, and then time, I had to learn this the hard way. I thought I could, walk into a practice and just snap my fingers and, it's just all going to start getting better and flowing like the way it doesn't happen. Right. It takes a lot of time, and you really have to be patient with the systems and with your people. And so don't try to get into a big hurry because you'll just disappoint yourself there. Just make sure to give plenty of time. But I like that book. I read it a couple years ago when it first came out, and it's got a good message.
Yeah, my wife has mentioned that a couple of times. So patience is a key word. Patience with your patient with your team, right. Patient with life, and patient with the practice. That is just amazing words there. Well, you can visit us at eAssist.com or dentalbilling.com. And Doc, if you want to give everyone the name of your practice and your website, please do. You're welcome to.
Sure. Yeah. So my practice, we're the Dental Center at Zebulon, and that's ZEBULON DDS.com. So ZebulonDDS.com is our website, and feel free to email me directly if you'd like at Daniel, DANIEL, Driskill, DRISKILL @gmail.com. I'm also on LinkedIn and do the Facebook thing and all that good stuff too. So yeah, I'm here if anybody wants to chat.
That's great. Well, Dr. Daniel Driskill, on behalf of the eAssist team and Dr. Anderson and myself, I want to thank you for coming on the show. And I'm sure am going to pay you that visit because we got snowed out today. So I'll be going by, I promise. I can't wait to see your practice and really sit down face to face and chat and meet your team. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Have a great week, everybody.
We hope that you have enjoyed this episode of the eAssist Dental Solutions podcast. We love to put the spotlight on the individuals for their outstanding work for our clients.